And when you look deeper into how the parenthood tax actually plays out over time, you start to realize that it is not just about the money you spend, but about how your entire financial system changes once children enter the picture. Every decision becomes more complex, every expense has a ripple effect, and every trade-off carries more weight because you are no longer optimizing for just yourself, but for an entire family. This shift fundamentally changes how wealth is built, preserved, and sometimes unintentionally lost. One of the biggest changes happens in your willingness to take risks. Before having children, people are generally more open to taking calculated risks, whether it is investing aggressively, switching careers, starting a business, or moving cities for better opportunities. But once children are involved, that mindset often changes. The stakes feel higher. The consequences of failure feel heavier. As a result, many parents become more conservative in their financial decisions. While this protects stability in the short term, it can limit growth in the long term. Over time, this creates a hidden cost that does not show up in your monthly expenses, but becomes very visible in your overall wealth trajectory. Another major shift is how your time is used. Time is directly connected to money, whether through earning potential, skill development, or strategic decision-making. When you have children, a large portion of your time is naturally redirected toward parenting responsibilities. This is meaningful and necessary, but it also reduces the time available for activities that could increase your income or improve your financial position. You may have less time to learn new skills, explore higher-paying opportunities, or manage your investments actively. This trade-off is often worth it emotionally, but financially, it still needs to be accounted for. Then there is the impact of delayed financial milestones. Many parents postpone major financial moves such as aggressive investing, buying property, or starting a business because their immediate focus shifts to family needs. While this delay might seem temporary, it has long-term consequences due to compounding. Money invested earlier has more time to grow. Even a delay of a few years can significantly reduce long-term returns. This means the real cost of parenthood is not just what you spend, but also what you miss out on earning during that time. The psychological side of this is equally important. As expenses increase and flexibility decreases, financial pressure tends to rise. This pressure can affect how you make decisions. Instead of thinking long-term, you may start focusing only on immediate needs. You may become more reactive instead of strategic. Over time, this can create a cycle where financial stress leads to decisions that further limit growth. This is why planning is so important. It is not just about managing money. It is about reducing stress and maintaining clarity in your decisions. This is exactly what happens with the Johnsons. As their costs increase over time, their financial margin starts to shrink. They begin making decisions based on urgency rather than strategy. They delay investments. They rely more on credit. And slowly, they lose the sense of control they once had over their finances. It is not because of one major mistake. It is because they never built a system designed to handle the long-term complexity of raising children. The Parkers, however, experienced something very different. They planned ahead. They anticipated the hidden costs. They built buffers into their system. Because of this, they are able to maintain consistency in their investments. They make lifestyle adjustments intentionally, not reactively. Most importantly, they retain control. They are not immune to challenges, but they are prepared for them. And that preparation makes all the difference. This comparison highlights a key truth. Financial outcomes are not just about how much you earn. They are about how your system is structured. Two families with similar incomes can end up in completely different financial positions based on how they plan and manage their resources. Parenthood amplifies this difference because it adds layers of complexity that require intentional decision-making. Another important factor is how your values influence spending. When you have children, your decisions are often driven by the desire to provide the best possible life for them. This includes education, experiences, and comfort. While this intention is positive, it can easily lead to overspending if it is not balanced with financial awareness. There is always a higher level of spending that can be justified in the name of doing more for your child. Without clear boundaries, this can turn into a cycle of constant upgrading. This is why defining what is enough is so important. Without that clarity, it becomes easy to associate higher spending with better parenting. But that is not always true. Many of the most meaningful aspects of parenting are not tied to money at all. They come from time, attention, and connection. Aligning your spending with actual value rather than social expectations can significantly improve both your financial and personal outcomes. There is also the long-term perspective to consider. Parenting is not just about managing expenses while your children are young. It is about ensuring that your financial stability continues into the future. This includes retirement and later stages of life. If you sacrifice your long-term financial security for short-term spending, you may create challenges that extend far beyond the parenting years. This is why one of the most important principles in the Parenthood financial plan is balance. You need to support your children while also protecting your own future. This means continuing to save and invest even when expenses increase. It means building a system that does not rely entirely on your children's future success for your own financial stability. Another key element is awareness. Many financial decisions in parenting are influenced by comparison. You see what other parents are doing. You see the schools they choose, the activities they pay for, the lifestyle they maintain, and without realizing it, you begin to adjust your own spending to match. This is one of the fastest ways to lose financial control. Avoiding this trap requires clarity about your own priorities. Flexibility is also critical. No plan will be perfect. Unexpected costs will come up. Situations will change. A strong financial system is not one that avoids problems entirely, but one that can absorb them without collapsing. This means having buffers, maintaining liquidity, and being willing to adjust when needed. And when you step back and look at everything together, the conclusion becomes very clear. Children are not the problem. Lack of preparation is. The same decision can lead to completely different outcomes depending on how it is approached. One path leads to constant financial stress and limited options. The other leads to stability, growth, and the ability to enjoy parenting without sacrificing your future. So the real question is not whether your kids are a financial risk, because they are. Because at the end of the day, the parenthood tax is real. But with the right plan, it does not have to cost you your future. And once you truly understand how this parenthood tax compounds over time, the conversation shifts from simply managing expenses to designing a life that can sustain both your family and your financial future without constant trade-offs. The real danger is not the cost itself. It is the silent accumulation of decisions that feel small in the moment, but reshape your financial trajectory over decades. This is where most people underestimate the long-term impact of parenting on wealth creation. One of the biggest overlooked factors is how financial habits evolve after having children. Before parenthood, spending decisions are often more deliberate and easier to control. But once children are involved, convenience begins to take priority over optimization. While this shift is completely understandable, it creates a pattern where efficiency replaces discipline. This leads to higher recurring expenses that slowly become normalized. Whether it is ordering food more frequently, choosing faster but more expensive services, or defaulting to purchases that save time rather than money, these patterns form a new baseline, and that baseline is often significantly more expensive than before. This new baseline is what makes it difficult for many families to return to a lower cost structure, even if they want to. Lifestyle inflation tied to children does not feel like luxury spending. It feels necessary. That is what makes it harder to question or reduce. Without actively reviewing and adjusting these habits, they continue to grow unchecked. Over time, they gradually reduce your ability to save and invest without any single expense appearing excessive on its own. Another layer that adds complexity is the unpredictability of costs. Unlike fixed expenses such as rent or utilities, child-related costs are highly variable. Medical expenses, school requirements, sudden needs, and changing interest all create fluctuations that are difficult to plan for precisely. This uncertainty makes it essential to build financial buffers that go beyond a standard emergency fund. When multiple people depend on the same financial system, the margin for error becomes much smaller. This is why liquidity becomes more important than ever. You need access to funds that can handle unexpected expenses without disrupting your long-term investments. One of the biggest mistakes families make is being forced to withdraw from investments at the wrong time due to short-term needs. This not only creates immediate losses, but also reduces future compounding potential. A temporary issue can easily turn into a long-term setback if liquidity is not managed properly. At the same time, income stability takes on a different meaning. It is no longer just about earning enough. It is about maintaining consistency and reliability. Many parents begin to prioritize job security over higher-risk opportunities. While this can protect against short-term instability, it can also limit income growth over time. In a rapidly changing economy, this can become a significant disadvantage. This creates another hidden cost that does not show up in monthly budgets but becomes very real over the years. This is where intentional income growth becomes essential. Relying solely on a stable salary may not be enough to offset rising expenses. Developing additional income streams, improving skills, and staying adaptable in your career are no longer optional strategies. They become necessary components of maintaining financial balance while raising a family. Families who focus on increasing income alongside managing expenses tend to have far more flexibility than those who rely only on cutting costs. There is also an emotional dimension to financial decision-making that becomes more pronounced with children. Many spending choices are driven by the desire to provide happiness, comfort, and opportunity. While these intentions are valid, they can sometimes lead to decisions that prioritize short-term satisfaction over long-term stability. Over time, this creates patterns that are difficult to sustain, especially when combined with social pressure and comparison. This is why setting clear financial boundaries is so important. Boundaries are not about restriction, they are about alignment. Without boundaries, it becomes easy to justify almost any expense in the name of providing for your child. Over time, this can erode financial stability in ways that are not immediately obvious but become increasingly difficult to reverse. Another important aspect is communication within the family. Financial planning for parenthood is not just an individual responsibility, it is a shared process. Differences in spending habits, priorities, and risk tolerance can create friction if not addressed early. Open and honest conversations about money become even more critical once children are involved. When both partners are aligned, decision-making becomes clearer and more effective. This shared understanding also extends to long-term planning. Decisions made today will affect future opportunities for both parents and children. Whether it is funding education, supporting career choices, or maintaining financial independence later in life, these outcomes are shaped by the systems you build now. A long-term perspective helps guide decisions in a way that balances immediate needs with future stability. One of the most powerful strategies in the Parenthood financial plan is forward planning. This means looking at expenses not just for the current year, but projecting them several years ahead. This allows you to anticipate changes rather than react to them, whether it is increased education costs, lifestyle adjustments, or shifts in income. This proactive approach creates a sense of control that is difficult to achieve otherwise. At the same time, maintaining consistency in investing is critical. One of the most common mistakes parents make is reducing or pausing investments during high-expense periods. This disrupts the compounding process and creates long-term consequences that far outweigh the short-term relief. Even if contributions need to be adjusted, maintaining some level of consistency ensures that progress continues over time. There is also value in simplifying your financial system. Complexity increases the likelihood of mistakes and reduces your ability to adapt quickly. A streamlined system with clear categories, automated savings, and defined priorities makes it easier to manage finances even during busy and unpredictable periods. This is especially important when your time and attention are divided across multiple responsibilities. When you take all of this into account, the picture becomes much clearer. Parenthood does not just add expenses, it transforms your entire financial landscape. It influences how money is earned, spent, saved, and invested. Understanding this transformation is the key to managing it effectively rather than being overwhelmed by it. Because in the end, the goal is not to avoid the financial impact of having children. That is neither realistic nor necessary. The goal is to approach it with awareness, intention, and a system that supports both your responsibilities and your ambitions. This allows you to build a life where family and financial stability coexist instead of competing with each other. And that is what separates those who struggle under the weight of the parenthood tax from those who navigate it successfully. It is not luck. It is not income alone. It is preparation, structure, and the ability to make decisions that align with both the present and the future at the same time.